Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corn Productions Deep Dive TV podcast with my co-host Stacie here, talking about the original Quantum Leap, Season 5, Episode 17, titled Revenge of the Evil Leaper. The episode's description reads as follows. After saving Aaliyah from the Evil Leaper project, Sam is trapped with her in a woman's prison with evil observer Zoe in charge as the prison warden. The episode was written by Deborah Pratt. This is actually her final effort on the series, and that's a really unfortunate end note for her contributions on this series.
Yeah, we're running out of episodes, so obviously we're going to be hitting finals pretty rapidly.
Although this was her final official writing credit, I'm pretty sure she continued to have influence throughout the final episode.
Yeah, she was,
episodes. In fact, I know she did, because she was the reason why Sam Beckett did not get home in the final episode.
I mean, in addition to being, a producer,
she was,
basically the head of the writer's room. So.
Right, yeah. But you can kind of tell with this episode that her heart was not in this one. But the episode was directed by Debbie Allen, which should sound familiar to you. She also directed and appeared in Private Dancer. She was the sister of Felicia Rashad. That would be Bill Cosby's wife in the Bill Cosby show. We talked all about her when we did Private Dancer. She's an endlessly fascinating person. If you are interested in all that again, go check out Private Dancer on our podcast on that. The episode takes place on September 16th, 1987, and originally aired on February 23rd, 1993, same as last episode. This is the last episode to air when I was still 12 years old.
And, I think, and I didn't look this up this time, but I feel this exists in my memory bank somewhere, that this is the furthest leap forward in time.
That was actually a note. That was actually a trivia note on the Internet Movie Database page for this episode.
Yeah, so as far as Sam's actual leaps, not counting the project scenes and all that, this is the furthest forward the original series went.
This is also the last episode to happen within my lifetime, at least as far as the original series was concerned. Before we go any further, I'll tell you a couple things. One, this is not a spoiler podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go check it out, and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on the platforms of this podcast now available on, please follow and feel free to check out our YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered, both Quantum Leap related and otherwise. If you're already on our YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to our channel. All right, so first off, rest in peace for George Wendt. He recently died on May 20th this year at the age of 71. He was, of course, Norm on Cheers, and he had a storied career. He was also in a Mel Gibson movie called Forever Young that I remember him in. So sad announcement there. It's not exactly, something that's in our wheelhouse or anything like that. He wasn't a sci-fi actor or anything like that. But still, he was someone that I remember seeing quite a bit when I watched Cheers back in the day. Shoutouts for Mimi Galp. She commented on Another Mother. She missed that the first time around, but she got back to it. So she says, nowadays you get creepy people on the internet who pretend that they're the same age as the person they're chatting with, and lure these children to meet with them, and then commit crimes. Yeah, so now there's no longer any child molester ban that goes around.
Or at least it's less prevalent of a concept these days. So, you just have the cyber crimes now.
So, yeah, if this episode were to air today, you would see two evil dudes, typing away, trying to lure Kevin away on the internet.
Right.
Yeah. So
and I guess, that makes sense why we associate the creepy van with the 80s, because as soon as the 90s rolled around, we started to get the internet chat rooms. And things started to shift into that narrative.
She also asked, what are we going to do for Father's Day? The only thing I can think of would be The Leap Home Part 1, where Scott plays both roles, himself and his father. Yeah, I don't really want to burn off that episode on Father's Day. What we were talking about doing was doing the movie Frequency with Dennis Quaid and Jim Cazivio. And I think we pretty much settled on doing that movie for Father's Day this time around.
That's the plan.
Yes.
Until it's actually recorded, I'm not going to promise it, but that's our plan.
I mean, who knows? Anything could happen, something could explode. So she mentions in the Batman movie, they had his parents killed right in front of him. She's referring, of course, to the backstory of Arnold in this episode, which I'm pretty sure is the same thing.
The return of the Evil Leaper.
Arnold also saw his parents die in front of him, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So basically, once again, it's the same backstory as Batman, except it didn't happen in Gotham City. And so, Alpha says, well, Alpha didn't say anything.
I Alpha's comment.
He didn't say anything about the episode, but he mentioned the fact that he was going to get banned again for shit talking and that he was drunk again. All right, so that's fine, Alpha, as long as you get back to comment on the next Quantum Leap episode.
Well, here's my note to Alpha. So if you like listening to our podcast while you're drunk,
right?
I'm going to point out that there's a little upgrade subscription button you could click on if you'd like to become a producer on the show.
Right.
Check that out.
So in addition to waiting for Alpha to get back from his 24-hour ban, I'm also probably going to spend my time being a little worried about Alpha and perhaps considering staging an intervention for him. Actually, you know what? Come to think of it, that might make some great content. We could do Dr. Dave and Stacie intervention.
Well,
anyway.
he's the doctor.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So anyway. So moving along from that, Bob Smith, otherwise known as Doctor Who, he thanks us for addressing his comments last week. And of course, if you comment, you become part of the conversation, even if you're Alpha and you're drunk and you're not saying anything really particularly relevant. But all right, so Stacie, that's the end of shoutouts. Your thoughts on this week's episode?
I mean, we know where we both land on this. We've talked about it so many times already. Now we're here to have like the big discussion. But yeah, this episode's a mess. It's all over the place. Most of my notes are just like, huh? Why? When did that happen?
Right.
Why do you think that? Where did we get that from? What? And how many times I had to stop and rewind something. And I'm like, I had to have missed something in the last 10 seconds. No, I didn't. It's just, there's nothing. I feel like, and I love you, Deborah Pratt. I feel like a 12-year-old wrote this.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's editing. Like, did things get cut out that were supposed to be there?
It's quite possible.
There's something missing in this story. As far as continuity and things that make sense.
So, yeah, it's pretty clear that Deborah Pratt had no interest in writing this. She wanted nothing to do with it. She wanted this to just be over, and it pretty much shows. I will say that there was probably a longer cut of this because, this was originally aired as
it was a
one
2-hour
long thing.
movie. Now, there is a video on Al's Place, similar to how for Trilogy, there was here's what was cut from the original airing. And I think those came from Matt Dale. I'm assuming he had the original recordings, like, on VHS from the TV when it aired.
I might even too somewhere.
Because they only, for both that and this, they only aired in the original format one time on television, and then that never existed again. They were never released that way. So that it had to have been like, screen grabbing the TV version is how these videos came to be. But I watched it, and it was like 14 minutes. I was like, okay, cool. There's going to be great stuff in here. And there really wasn't for this one. No. Whereas for Trilogy, we had, there was some good stuff that was cut. And it's like, why did they cut that?
Right.
And for this one, for the Evil Leaper, bookend here, it was mostly like, oh, it's really the same scene, but it's like with different credits over it because it was combined credits for both episodes.
Okay.
And then it was like maybe a half second here or there that looked different. But overall, I didn't see anything that was cut content-wise in there. And then, the last 6 minutes was just a preview of the rest of the season.
Oh, okay.
Which I find really bizarre. They were like, check out what's coming this spring on Quantum Leap. And then it gave away every one of the next episodes except Mirror Image.
Yes, I actually remember that.
And I was like, they gave way too much. And maybe that's why, people weren't as excited. Because they were like, look at all the gimmicks we're about to do. And then it gave them all away.
Right. Yeah, I remember that airing as a 12-year-old kid. They were basically advertising them as the final episodes of the series.
Well, they didn't know yet.
Right.
That it was the end. They were still grasping at straws at that moment. That, hey, maybe we're going to get... renewed. Right. But yeah, it was very look at this and look at this and look at this. Yeah, so go check out that video. It's on Al's Place. It's on the episode guide for both of these 2 Evil Leaper episodes. But I didn't see anything in there that was missing from the narrative of the episode we reviewed.
Yeah, so I said this a lot last week. I'll say it again here. We learned nothing nothing about the Evil Leaper project. We don't get any insight into why Aaliyah even does what she does to get to this point.
There were some little hints and little things, but all it does is give us more questions.
Right. And, we spend 3 episodes on the Evil Leapers, and I feel like we don't know anything. Like, the trilogy was a complete story.
Right.
This is not.
No, it definitely feels like if the show continued, they would have had to have wrapped back around to this eventually.
Yeah, but except that they pretty much finalized at least one of the characters.
Yeah, but it still feels so unfinished.
Right, yeah.
It feels like they needed to come back to it.
Right. And there's a lot here that does not make sense, unfortunately. Particularly towards the end. And I think we're gonna have a fun time ripping this episode. I feel like we were doing 2 episodes of Under the Dome this week, because we spent a lot of time. We're gonna be spending a lot of time ripping the second episode of that we're doing today.
I feel like this is worse.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
In my notes, this is worse, I think.
But what's funny? There is some cool stuff here, and I didn't have the problems with this episode that I have now as a kid.
Right.
I thought, oh, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, there is good stuff. I love the cast.
Yeah. Final appearance for Renee Coleman as Aaliyah. Final appearance for Carolyn Seymour in the series, who appeared one other time besides her appearance as Aaliyah.
Trilogy. Yeah. As Zoe.
Yeah, as Zoe.
And then we've got Hinton Battle. He's amazing. Love him. Great energy there.
His character's pretty obnoxious, though.
But I love him. He's fun,
He borders kind of towards a black stereotype at times.
Well, I mean, sure. It's the 90s.
It's the 90s, sure.
Yeah, I don't hate, the whole setup. Right. I could have been fine with it. It's just the execution of the storytelling that just falls totally flat.
Right, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
So do we have anything else to say before diving in?
Let's just go for it.
All right. So, Sam leaps into darkness. Aaliyah calls for him, freaking out. Neither are sure what's happening or where they are. We hear a voice which is very amused, and I'm pretty sure this is ADR work. And there's a reverberation on the voice, and it's pretty cool. I thought that was a pretty cool effect. And basically says, well, first you don't know where you are, and then you don't know why. After only a week in the box. And this is the guard, Sophie
Nixon,
who pulls them out. She's a hostile guard from any number of prison guard movies, which Al will point out. And she wants to know which of the 2 ladies killed Carol Benning. Oh boy, credits. Sophie is played by Catherine Cortez. 35 credits for her, including 3 episodes of the original Equalizer, and an appearance on NCIS in 2021, and an episode of 30-something.
She was also in 1 episode of Beverly Hills 90210, and the original 1995 version of the movie Freaky Friday.
Yes.
That's the one with Shelley Long in it.
Yeah, I wasn't actually sure where that fell in the Freaky Friday
It's
universe.
not the famous one.
Right.
The famous one is, the one with Lindsay Lohan.
Right, and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, and that was 3 or 4 years later, which was really weird that they redid it so quickly.
Yeah, that is kind of strange. So we come back from the credits with an establishing shot of the prison. Sam narrates that they left together, but they didn't know if it was his leave or hers, and so on and so forth. Aaliyah and Sam are brought into the office and told to sit. Sam tries to talk to her, but Sophie gets aggressive. He says he needs to talk to her to find out an answer to her question. Sophie offers a supply closet so they can talk in private, and she's very amused by this. Inside, Sam says there's a 50-50 chance that this is his leap, and those are not very good odds. That's not the kind of odds you want.
Well, yeah, he's saying it's either mine or yours. We don't know. But really, what difference does it make? You both leaped.
Yeah.
Right? And there's no reason to believe that their people can't find them.
Right.
So it doesn't matter whose leap it is. I don't see the difference. What difference would it make? Mm-hmm. You're in the same situation either way.
Right. And Aaliyah says it doesn't matter. Once she's located, she's dead. Sam... Oh, yeah, that's the other thing about this episode. This basically wastes the character of Aaliyah because of what is about to happen here.
Oh yeah, Leah's not here.
Right.
We're gonna say bye-bye Aaliyah, go to sleep, and we'll see her 3 seconds at the end, and that's a wrap on Aaliyah.
Literally, what is the point of having her here if you're not gonna have the character of Aaliyah and explore the character? But yeah, anyway. So Sam asks how long they usually take for a location search, and she says it could be hours or in some cases days before she gets contact.
Which is pretty, comparable to what we know with Al finding Sam.
Al arrives 5 minutes and 38 seconds in the episode. Al marvels at two women being in the waiting room. Sam wants to change her brain waves.
Yeah, so this means that they are in Sam's leap.
Yeah.
She left with him. Two women in the waiting room. I wanted more explanation on that. What does that mean?
Right.
Do they both have Sam's aura?
No, I'm assuming one has Aaliyah's and the other
Does it? Because Aaliyah's not programmed there.
Right.
Or what? They both just appeared in Fermi suits. Where'd the other Fermi suit come from?
Right.
Did they give her?
Question I had. Maybe it was Aaliyah's Fermi suit that it went to Project Quantum Leap instead of. I have no idea. I hadn't even thought about that. So, Ziggy suggests hypnosis because of what happened in Shock Theater.
Yeah, they bring up Shock Theater, which is a nice touch that we're things that happened, but they're also kind of talking about it in a way that it's that's not really what that episode was about.
Right. So, Sam begins to hypnotize her, and we see her imagining what Sam is saying. It's also working on Al, which is a little funny note. Which Sam has to snap him out of. Yeah,
so this whole, imagine you're on a mountaintop, and then we see her in the clouds. I've always thought this was a ridiculously goofy visualization.
Yes.
For me, this is, the dumbest part of the episode, is visualizing her hypnosis.
Yeah.
It was very, weird. So basically, my note is she's dressed like she's the Virgin Mary. What is with this outfit she's wearing, standing in the clouds?
Okay. So Al gives a date. Sam tells Aaliyah that her name is Angel Jensen, guilty of selling pot.
And she's 19 years old.
Exactly how long has she spent in jail? This jail?
I don't think they told us when she was arrested.
For selling pot?
Well, here's my biggest problem is we then learn Sam's Elizabeth, Liz Tate, she's in for murder.
Right.
Why is the person arrested for murder? And we're also kind of told, it wasn't really murder. She, shot her husband because he was beating her.
Basically.
But her conviction is murder.
Right.
She's in for murder, and Angel's in for selling pot. Not only are they in the same prison, but they're, in the same cell block.
Right.
That doesn't feel accurate to me.
No. One crime is a little bit more severe than the other. And my argument is nobody should be in jail for nonviolent drug offenses. But that's just,
it's the
that's
80s.
my opinion, yeah.
There was, this whole war on drugs thing.
I'm not saying it's not accurate. I'm saying it shouldn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was... They were cracking down on that during this era, right? They were trying to make an example. But I still don't feel like they'd have been, literally knowing each other.
Cell.
In the same cell block, friends.
Right.
It doesn't make sense that they would have been that closely communed together,
Well, Sam points out that the conviction for murder shouldn't have been murder at all because it was more like self-defense.
Right.
But the jury didn't actually see it that way. They convicted her for murder anyway.
So Sam looks in a mirror. We get our first shot of Liz. We're going to meet Liz later, but we get the mirror image of her here.
I have her credits later in the episode when we actually see her in the waiting room.
Okay, we can save that for then.
Okay. So we see Zoe looking for her in the clouds.
Yes. Now, as hokey as that whole scene is, I do think Zoe looks amazing.
Okay.
Aaliyah's dressed like Virgin Mary, but Zoe looks like she belongs in Blood Moon.
Okay.
She's wearing this very gothic black dress. She's hot. Of all of Caroline Seymour's outfits, this is her best in the series. And I love Zoe's outfits every time we see her.
Yep.
And that had to have been so fun for Jean-Pierre to costume Zoe, the female counterpart to Al. Mm-hmm. If anything, that's what I'd love to see more of, is what can we do with Zoe's whole persona if we were to see more of her.
Right. So Sam tells Aaliyah that she only knows what Angel Jensen knows. He tells her to find whatever piece of Angel she has, and Al's basically I'm not even sure this is going to work, because at best she has a very little bit of Angel's actual memory.
Right, but we're leaning into that whole you link with your host deal, a lot.
Yes.
And I've always known that this season does that a lot.
Yeah.
But, like, really analyzing the episodes back to back to back, it's like, wow, this has become, like, our whole thing this season.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's a pretty big theme in the season. Al suggests a password to get Aaliyah back, which ends up being Rumpelstiltskin. Soapy comes in at the count of 3, after the count of 3, and is her usual joyful self, basically throwing them out of the broom closet. Soapy goes into the office to talk to the warden. He basically wants them to make sure one of them hangs for the crime. The warden is played by Sam Schreiber. 100 credits for him, including The Karate Kid, an episode of The Shield, and the movie Shocker.
He was also in 1 episode of Beverly Hills 90210, an episode of Family Matters, and 2 episodes of Cheers, which you already brought up.
Yes.
And the character is Warden Clifton Myers.
Also in the scene, though she's not really highlighted yet, is Vivian. She will be an important character throughout this episode. She is played by Barbara Montgomery, 29 credits for her. One of the guest appearances is on The Fresh Prince. She was also on The Cosby Show. And an episode of After School Specials, which I was surprised ran for 156 episodes. I did not realize that.
Wow.
Yeah.
She was also in an episode of Sister Sister and an episode of Living Single. Talk about, we mentioned 90s black stereotypes.
Right.
There we go. Every single black show of the 90s.
Basically.
When it was like, this has to be a whole separate thing.
Right. Yep. He's basically asked by Vivian how long she has been there, and Al gives him the answer. And Vivian's like, well, then you should have known not to mess with Benning. And it's kind of funny because the story that we get in the end is it's not like he was messing with her.
Right,
he was trying to help her.
That's what's going around right now.
Al says there's a 73% chance that they are there to prevent Liz from being executed. Vivian tells Aaliyah that she can't help her this time. And Aaliyah ends up making a reference to some memory that she has, but it's only a vague mention. Sophia comes out, and it's their turn to go in. But as the warden waits, we see the red leaping effect, and he's replaced by Zoe. So Sam, Aaliyah are brought in. Zoe, and all 3 of them are leapers.
Right. But they haven't touched.
Yeah, right.
So Zoe doesn't know they're them. They don't know Zoe's here.
And Aaliyah doesn't know who she is at all.
And Aaliyah is hypnotized.
Right.
So she's Leah. Sam and Aaliyah can see each other, but Aaliyah thinks she's Angel.
Right. Actually, that's actually a curious question. At this point, does Aaliyah see Sam?
Yeah, they touched. They've been, holding each other already.
So...
But she's been hallucinated to not see Sam because Sam was like, I'm Liz and you're Angel.
So she is seeing Liz right now.
She is seeing clouds. Okay. That's what she's seeing. She's on the mountaintop.
Okay. Because I was actually kind of curious. Is she seeing Liz because she was hypnotized to do so?
Theoretically, she should physically see Sam right now. But she's being told that's Liz.
Okay.
I mean, that's the very least of how messy this is going to get.
I know. But, all right. So Zoe is playing her part pretty well for the first time leaping, that is, anyway. None of them know who the other is. Aaliyah says she can't remember anything because of course
she can't.
So she's being honest there. We see the hologram effect, and in comes the obnoxious Thames, played by Hinton Battle. 23 credits for him, including Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Dreamgirls, and early edition. He passed away fairly recently. I forgot to take note when, though.
It was last year. We dedicated an episode to him.
I didn't see him in his page, though.
Oh, maybe that didn't get approved. But I do know we did it.
We did.
It might not have made it to IMDb, but it's in our episode. I just don't know which episode.
Mm-hmm. It was around the same time that Dr. Ruth passed.
That's what I was going to say. It's around the same time. And I feel like it was something stagey.
Okay.
Because...
the connector, maybe?
He is... I bet we did do it in the connector and a Quantum Leap episode, whatever episode we filmed that week. Because he was a stage performer.
Okay.
He was big on Broadway, and he was a dancer, choreographer, all that.
All right. So yeah, he had a nice little career for himself.
So he's super excited to be a an observer. This is a first opportunity for him. And he's like, oh, I'm a hologram.
Now,
and he's making fun of Zoe because Zoe has Swiss cheese. And it's very funny they use that same term in this project.
Yes.
Which leans to the theory that their project stemmed from Sam's quantum leap somehow, if they're using the same terminology.
Well, you know what else is interesting is that Thames is using a completely different
hand link. So Zoe has a different hand link than we've ever seen. And then he comes in and has a pyramid hand link for some reason.
And it's really annoying. The sound effects in that hand link are really, really annoying.
There's a great video out there. I think Morgan produced that video of all the different quantum leap hand links.
Speaking of Morgan, I noticed something when I was looking at my subscribers, which I can do now, and I always could, but Morgan Pilton is actually a subscriber of ours. I did not realize that.
Does that surprise you?
It did a little bit.
Okay. I'm going to guess that happened, when we met him.
Well,
and hung out together.
That would make sense.
And talked about him in our show.
Right. But yeah, so wait, you were going to say something about a video about the hand link?
I said it already.
You did say it already.
Morgan, I think it was Morgan that put out a really great video of all of the different hand links of Quantum Leap.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's out there somewhere. Just search it.
I thought there was maybe more. And
that's all I had to say about it.
Okay.
It was a good video.
So Zoe talks to Thames in code. Sam tells her that he didn't kill Carol Benning. Thames says, find Sam, find Aaliyah, find out what's wrong. Sam is there to correct. And they could all go home. And Zoe has Sophie come in. She claims that Fitterer was a witness.
Fitterer.
Fiddler.
Like Fiddler on the Roof.
Okay,
Fiddler. A fiddle. Fiddler.
Gotcha. All right.
Gosh, Dave.
And basically, Sophie thinks it's a crock, that they don't know anything, and suggests a few more days in isolation might help. Aaliyah starts freaking out.
Because Angel is claustrophobic.
Right. And that's pretty much the only...
That's what's coming through.
Mm-hmm. Sam tries to talk her into letting them go back into the prison population to find out what other people know. That if they don't talk to anyone, they're not going to be able to get answers. Zoe ends up sending Sam back to the population, but sends Aaliyah back into isolation. She ends up freaking out. Sam tries to calm her down and says to wait for him at the top of the mountain. Zoe catches in on this and says, basically, it's a dream they have. And Zoe gives him 24 hours to find the killer, or basically, they're the ones who are going to go down for it. So Sam is escorted out. Thames continues to act obnoxious, giving me and Zoe a headache. Zoe says she wants Aaliyah. Thames says they lost contact and blames it on her weeping. That's not exactly how that played out, but basically they should have lost contact before she wept, but that's besides the point.
I feel like they had contact because they were able to come here, so they knew she was here.
Right.
They lost contact because she's hypnotized. Because she doesn't know she's her.
Right.
They can't find her.
Right.
Which makes zero sense, because aren't they, tapped into her actual, neurons and mesons?
I guess when
if she doesn't know she's her, they're not going to find her. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Then again, we did have moments where Sam's losing touch with reality, and there were they were not
able. That's the whole.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they were going off of.
Right.
But it still feels like they know she's here.
Right.
They should be able to find her since they're already here.
Right.
They're not trying to find her in time. They're trying to find her in this physical location we're already at.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. There should be just the quantum signature or whatever. They're able to do it later.
Yes.
Later in the episode, they're like, oh yeah, there was a leaper here.
Right.
So nothing in this episode makes any sense. That's all. That's it. That's...
So basically Zoe says that she has 24 hours to get home. After that...
48 hours.
48 hours. Okay, I thought it was 24.
She has 48 hours. So, okay. They have the ability, the Lothos Project, to not only control leaps and send you where they want to send you, but they have the ability to retrieve. The secret is you only have 48 hours, which is something Sam never knew.
Right.
Because they waited longer than that to try and retrieve him, and that's why he didn't get home. This is very much like Sliders. If you break the rule with the timer, you're stuck forever.
Right.
But if you follow the timelines of what you're supposed to do, you can go home.
Right.
Yeah, so she's like, you got 48 hours. But also, it also is like they have the ability to pull her out whenever, though. right?
Yeah,
it's not like she has to complete something.
Right.
Lothos has the power to leap them back.
I mean, they basically did that in the first Evil Leaper episode.
Right, even though that wasn't a leap effect. That was something else.
Yeah, that was some weird thing. And they basically were trying to do it at the end of the last episode as well. So, yeah.
Right, so it's insinuated that if you only have 48 hours, it's not like she has to complete a mission in that time. They just physically have to pull her back.
Right.
So why can't they pull her back and then send her again to restart the clock?
I mean, yeah, I guess. You're right. That makes sense. So, yeah, Thames leaves, and then she starts looking at herself in the mirror and starts stripping.
She's looking at the warden in the mirror.
Right.
And exploring his body, which is really awkward and weird.
But on brand for the character that we've seen so far. And it would be on brand for Al as well.
Yeah, but also it's really weird. It's like, what am I watching right now?
And we're going to get more of that later. But so Sam goes into the prison population, and Al appears to say that Ziggy says there's another Leaper here other than Aaliyah. And Aaliyah is not doing very well.
Yeah, Ziggy knows there's a Leaper here.
Yes.
But Lothos doesn't know for a fact that there's 2 other Leapers here.
Right.
They're guessing.
Right.
They're guessing. They think Aaliyah's here, and they're guessing Sam is with her. Why do they not know for a fact that there's 3 Leaper signatures?
Right.
If Ziggy knows that.
Right.
Because everything we're hinted at is that Lothos is more powerful and more advanced than Ziggy.
Right. I've seen no evidence of that whatsoever. But Fiddler comes and asks about Angel. Fiddler is played by Rosanna DeSoto. 54 credits for her, including she was the daughter of Chancellor Gorkin in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. And I was really surprised to learn that. Because I actually didn't even know who that actress was. I never actually looked into her. But yeah, when I looked into this, I'm like, oh, really? Well, that's pretty cool. She was also in 2 episodes of Melrose Place and 2 episodes of Invasion.
Invasion, I know that show.
Yeah,
I didn't pick that up on her list. She was in 3 episodes of Murder, She Wrote is the only different one I have.
Okay, so she basically tells Sam she overheard the 3 of them talking to an upset Carol.
So remember, Fiddler's the one who the whole story that the warden was telling us, who the warden's not even here anymore. Let's remember that.
Yes.
But the story was that Fiddler said that you 2 were with Carol and then she was dead. So one of you must have killed her.
Right. And that it seemed like the 2 of them, like they were trying to help her, and that she was actually begging the 2 of them for help.
And she was bleeding. Carol was bleeding before she went into the bathroom.
Right.
So basically, like, the story we were told that Fiddler told is not the story Fiddler is now telling.
Right.
The only connective tissue is the 3 of them were in the bathroom together.
Right. And then Sophia comes in. She arrives and tells him he only has 16 hours left. Where did the time go?
Yeah, no, I think that I don't think they're saying that 8 hours have passed. I think she's like, nah, you don't got 24. You got 16 because you got till like tomorrow morning or whatever.
Okay.
And it's Sophie, not Sophia.
Oh, yeah.
One more thing about Fiddler. We're told that she was arrested in 1981 for kidnapping. But it turns out it was a case of mistaken identity. This prison is full of innocent people.
Wow, it has to be the most innocent place on Earth.
And he says she was released this year.
Right.
Does this year mean 1987, the year of the leap? Or does this year mean 1999, his year?
I don't know.
Either way, that's a long time to spend in prison for a crime you didn't commit.
Right.
If by this year he meant like 87, that's 6 years.
So this is like an indictment of our criminal justice system.
Yeah, this episode is painting a really horrible picture. Everyone here is innocent except the guards and the warden.
Right.
And then Ziggy gives us this line that there's no trace of her after she was released. They don't know what happened to Fiddler after she was released.
My guess is they're suggesting that because she narked on...
right, that she wasn't actually released, they killed her.
Or it could be the case that they, like, changed her identity and that's why they can't trace her, or I don't know.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like, it feels like there was a hint that there's supposed to be more story about Fiddler. Like, where they're telling us her whole backstory that she's released and we don't know what happened to her. That feels like the kind of foreshadowing that it's going to come back.
Right.
But it doesn't.
No. So, Al called Soapy a refugee from a B movie, the kind of porn movie that I'm sure Al watches. I mean, basically, he's already mentioned the fact that he watches women in prison movies, which is basically, most of those type of movies are basically softcore porn. So we kind of know what Al is already into. But the warden wants to see Sam, and Al tells her that now history has changed, that both Liz and Angel die.
The warden wants to see Sam. She's going to give her 10 minutes to get ready.
Right.
And I'm going to point that out because it feels like a heck of a lot more than 10 minutes go by before we get back to this.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, Zoe is having a romantic evening with herself, listening to a classical movie while stripping herself in the mirror.
There's candles, a lot of candles.
Yes.
Like lots and lots and lots of black candles all over the warden's office. Where do they come from?
Right. And meanwhile, it's revealed that Thames was in the room the entire time.
Yeah.
Because she starts talking to him, saying that she's pissed at Aaliyah. And, like, this entire scene is just evil speak. There's no depth here. There's no new information. I mean, like, we get little hints of things here, but...
We hear that Aaliyah was a coward, and Lothos didn't want Aaliyah. Zoe insisted on it because Zoe owed Aaliyah something. This was a good thing that she became an Evil Leaper?
Right.
Like, did we save her from being killed, and this was the alternative?
That's the thing, is we don't know anything about what this is.
There's all these hints that, like... Zoe and Aaliyah were close. Zoe pulled Aaliyah into this project, insisted that she get it, and this was supposed to be a good thing for Aaliyah. It was a favor to Aaliyah to let her be an Evil Leaper, as opposed to what? What was Aaliyah's story?
I mean, if we just like ironed out some of these details so that the story could make a little bit of sense to us.
Otherwise, why are we being told all this?
Right. Yes, exactly. And we're never going to revisit it. So what's the point?
Lothos regretted ever sending Aaliyah.
Right.
But now Zoe's going to eliminate her because she's turned on Zoe.
Right.
So we went from being told they were really good friends and she stood up to her to now I want to kill her.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Vivian gets Sam, who wants him to help. Leah. She was doing fine until she was put into 4-point. I don't know what any of that means.
Sam doesn't know what it means, but it means she's up in chains. Instead of being in the box, she's now chained to a wall.
Right.
Because we're going to see her in a few minutes.
She doesn't think she'll survive the night. And
this is where I want to point out, between the last scene we saw Sam and this one, it's dark now.
Right.
It's like we've passed lights out.
Yeah.
Everything's dark. And it's like she's pulling her out in the middle of the night to go talk to Angel. But what happened to... Sophie was supposed to be back in 10 minutes to take her to see the warden.
Right. And then we have more evil speak from Thames and Zoe, who think this is the perfect place for revenge. Vivian encounters resistance from Masterson when she gets there. Sam attacks her, and I'm going to point out at this point that Vivian is starting to do things here that should cost her job.
Already. Right.
And as the show goes along, she's doing things that not only should cost her job, but also get her sent to prison.
Exactly.
I have a hard time believing that Vivian is going to stick her neck this far out for anyone.
So going to get Liz to talk to Angel, because Angel's freaking out.
Right.
I get it. Mm-hmm. Right? Telling Masterson, just listen to me and let her talk to her. It'll, make everyone's lives easier. I get it. But sitting back and watching Sam choke the guard and then going along with it?
Right.
No. Okay, so this is Masterson.
Let's see. Where is she? Maggie Roswell. Most famous for various voices on The Simpsons, appearing in 291 episodes as various characters. 82 credits, including a Dennis the Menace cartoon, and 2 episodes of Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, lots and lots of voice work is basically what she is known for.
So after Sam attacks Masterson...
literally chokes her!
Right. And Sam gets Aaliyah out.
Yeah, so not only is he going to comfort Aaliyah, now Sam has the key to the handcuffs and is unchaining her.
Right. And Masterson is continuing to complain. I mean, at this point, I think she has a point.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not taking responsibility for this. Vivian's like, shut up.
Right.
Okay.
I'll deal with the warden. What's the warden's name again?
The warden, Clifton Myers.
Yeah, I'll deal with Myers. Don't worry about it. Al is in the waiting room with Liz and Angel. Liz is played by Cynthia Steele. 35 credits for her. including Night Court, Married with Children, and Diagnosis Murder.
She also was in an episode of Jag, 2 episodes of Married with Children, and 2 episodes of Full House.
Angel is played by Laura O'Loughlin.
Laura O'Loughlin?
Only 3 credits were including Mr. Jones.
That's exactly what I have. And Angel doesn't do much. She's basically catatonic. Not catatonic, but one step up from that. She's just kind of like rocking. And is that because she's hooked to Aaliyah and Aaliyah is in distress? Or is it because her brainwaves are being occupied by Aaliyah? Or what's going on here?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Because we don't have Aaliyah.
Right.
We also don't have Angel.
Right.
They're both just like gone.
Right. So I'm also going to point out that this is probably the last time that we see characters in the waiting room, other than in the finale, but we don't actually see anybody in the waiting room in that episode. I don't think it happens for the rest of the series, the remaining 5 episodes.
You might be right.
Yeah.
And I was thinking during this is like, wow, that's a lot of episodes in a row that we just saw the waiting room.
Right, yeah.
Like the waiting room has taken priority. Almost lending towards, where we landed with the revival. Where we spent a lot of time at the project.
Right, but
except there's no waiting room.
Right, exactly.
But it's like these project scenes are existing. They're only existing with Al and the hosts in the waiting room, but they're existing week after week. It's like, let's go to the waiting room. And week after week, it's Al talking to the people in the waiting room that's actually solving the leaps.
Right.
Like 3 or 4 times in a row now.
But I have issues with how... Well, I mean, I have lots of issues with the ending, but we'll get there in a moment. But
it happened with Dr. Ruth.
Yep.
The result, the resolution of the leap happened in the waiting room.
Yes.
It happened with Return of the Evil Leaper.
Yes.
There was one in the middle of those.
Blood Moon.
Okay, that resolution didn't happen in the waiting room, but we had waiting room scenes with him.
In the prior episode.
But we saw him in the waiting room.
Yeah.
I feel like there was another one where it's like the resolution was in the waiting room.
I'm blanking at the moment. I'm not sure
And it might not even been a physical scene, but it was like we were told that Sam or that Al talked to somebody and that's what got the... And that's what happens at the end of this. It's like, Liz gave us everything we need to know. Okay, that's not what leaping is.
Right. I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, so Liz is basically being very hostile to Al, and
so Al's like, just tell me what you know about Carol Benning, and she's like, I don't remember my own last name. You want me to tell you who killed Carol Benning?
Right. And basically, Al tells her, well, just give it a little moment and you'll remember everything.
I also want to note that Liz asked what's wrong with Angel, and Al says she should be fine when she goes back to her own time.
Yes.
Meaning, and we did the same thing last week with Arnold, we are not being shy about telling these people they're at a time travel project, and they're not in their time.
Right. Well, I'm assuming that...
Why is that protocol now, to just tell people that they're time traveling?
It shouldn't be, but I'm thinking that Al thinks that they are not going to remember this anyway, so... But I think that's kind of a big risk to take, for sure.
I mean... Okay, but talking about Arnold last week...
Right.
The whole point of that is he was going to remember this conversation because we're convincing him to change his life.
Right. Yeah, that's a problem there, for sure. So Leah talks to Sam, and she says it's not her life. He doesn't remember her parents or anything good in her life. And he wants to know everything about Carol Benning. And
he starts trying to explain to her, like, Swiss cheese. And so he's explaining the Swiss cheese theory. He's like, the big holes are the big things, like your parents. And the little holes are, these little details. And she's like, no, these aren't my memories.
Right.
Like, something's wrong.
Right. So, Vivian comes back. She's not happy. Sam blew off the warden. Vivian talks to Leah, decides to take Leah to the old transfer tunnels, but doesn't know how long she can keep her there. Masters interferes, and Sam ends up knocking her out.
He puts her in a chokehold, knocks her out, and Masterson's like, I'm going to help you escape prison,
right?
Leah? Or,
well, no,
Angel?
Vivian is basically like allowing Sam to knock this person out.
Yeah, and then
allowing her to put her in solitary.
Right.
She's lost her job at this point.
Like, worse than, like, what are you doing?
Right, yeah.
And it kind of makes sense later when we're, like, telling her, oh, you're doing good things. But right now, why do you think this is a good thing?
Right, yeah.
But yeah, Vivian, especially because Vivian's upset with Sam.
Yes.
But still doing all this.
Right.
Upset with Sam for not telling her that she was expected with the warden. And she's like, I'm in big trouble now.
Right.
Oh, you're not helping yourself, Eddie.
No.
The way you're continuing.
No.
But we're told that Liz was supposed to be going under, and they're like, well, what does that mean? And the guards are like, everybody knows what that means.
I don't. Can someone explain that to me?
I'm pretty sure where we land by the end of this episode is that Liz is being brought to be assaulted by the warden.
That's what we're saying?
I think so!
That's what going under means?
I think so!
And these prison guards are just going along with that?
Because that's the resolution of the episode, is that he got somebody pregnant.
Okay. All right. I tried to look into prison lingo for what going under meant, and I found nothing.
Okay, so but here's my problem with this, is they all think that's what's happening. Why is Zoe calling Liz to the office in the first place? Zoe doesn't know Liz is one of the Leapers.
Right.
She has no idea who they are.
Right.
So why is she even like, yeah, you need to bring this prisoner to me right now?
I don't know.
They all think it's, for something else. That can't happen.
I mean, it can. It does happen. The mechanics are a little different, but...
But I'm saying, like...
Yeah.
Zoe would be figured out pretty quick.
Right. All right. Moving along from that. Yeah, so Al... Okay, Zoe and Soapy come down and find Sam. Zoe says he stood her up. Sam asks her to let Angel out. Why? He knows that Angel is not in there and that Masterson is.
No, okay, so he's pretending.
Right.
He's pretending so that the warden, because they don't know anything about Zoe.
Yeah.
They want to trick the warden into thinking everything's cool. Zoe's in the box, or Angel is in the box where she belongs. And the only bad thing that happened is that Liz was brought to comfort her.
Okay, at the same time, what happens if the warden's like, sure, let's get Angel out?
Well, they're banking that that's not going to happen.
Okay. So Al and Thames show up at exactly the same time, which is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, but it's also very convenient that they don't talk over each other.
Right.
Because they can't hear each other.
Right.
Nobody can see both of them. But they very conveniently take turns talking.
Right. And this is where the episode it's already off the rails, but it goes straight off the rails.
This is where it's really hard to follow if you're not trying.
Right. But even that, so, okay. Al says that they're going to lock onto Aaliyah, that their computers are going to lock onto Aaliyah. How does he know that? How does he know that?
How does Ziggy know that?
Right.
They don't even know yet that Zoe's here. They don't know nothing.
Right. So, that would mean that they know exactly where the project is, and that they could somehow, know what's going on there. Or that Ziggy could somehow pick up the fact that they're going to get a lock on her.
Right.
But there's no way for them to know that without knowing exactly where the project is in the first place. And they're going
how it works.
And they're going to do some other crazy things.
Because we know it works different than their project.
Right. They're going to do some other crazy things.
Yeah, it gets worse. Yeah. But meanwhile, that's exactly what Thames is saying is, hey, we picked up a transmission.
Right.
But here's what he says. She's in the box.
Right.
No, she's not.
She's not.
So what are they picking up?
Masterson is there, unless they were picking up residuals from when she was there.
But she wasn't even there. She was on the wall.
Right.
She wasn't even in the box. She was chained to the wall on the outside of the box.
Right.
So what are they picking up?
Right.
Are they picking up Sam?
Maybe.
Because he's in this room?
Mm-hmm.
But if that's the case, why didn't they pick him up the whole time?
Right. So,
and also, why would anybody pick up Aaliyah anyways? Because she's still hypnotized.
Yes.
Nothing's changed for her.
Right. So Zoe makes a move towards the door. Sam grabs her. We have the warping effect as to both Sam and Zoe basically transforming into
Liz and Myers.
Yep. And then they transport back into themselves. They realize they can see each other. Al just kind of sits there and doesn't say a word and just kind of stares.
So this means at this moment,
Yeah.
Zoe was visible to Al.
Right.
And Sam was visible to Thames.
Right.
But they can't see each other's observers.
Right. And then at this point, Sam breaks for a run as Zoe calls to stop him, which confuses Sophie.
Yeah, Sophie's just like, what the frick is going on? Him?
You know,
what are we doing?
That's the other thing, is this is also the last episode that Sam leaps into a woman. It's also they downplay it the most in this episode out of any other of the times that Sam leaps into a woman. It's barely a thing, except for, like, in this moment right here. So, yeah, Zoe has the door open and discovers it's not Aaliyah, but Masters.
Here's my question.
Masterson, or whatever.
How does she know that's not Aaliyah?
Exactly.
She didn't touch her!
Yeah, she just knows.
Why didn't she lean down and touch Masterson and then realize it's not Aaliyah?
Yes, yeah.
So, here's my question. Like, I'm trying to understand what they're trying to tell us. Is the idea that once Sam and Zoe touched, it would have revealed everybody to everybody?
That's not consistent with anything we've been told.
Right. Well, because, yeah, Sam and Aaliyah had touched, but they couldn't see Zoe.
Right.
So that it shouldn't work all the ways.
Right.
But also, and this is, this is building on revival stuff, so that's not actually canon here.
Yeah.
But to understand how this works, how come Zoe and Aaliyah couldn't see each other to begin with?
Right.
Because they're from the same project.
Right.
They're not leapers meeting by chance. They're literally connected to each other's brains already.
Right.
So why couldn't she see her to begin with?
Yeah.
Because I feel like if Al and Sam both leapt, they'd see each other without touching.
Right.
Because they see each other.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Did you see what I'm saying?
No, it actually doesn't make any sense. But
it doesn't make sense that she didn't know who she was to begin with, and it doesn't make sense that she immediately knows that's not her. If you don't know who she is, why are you assuming that's not her?
Right.
Because you don't know that she's Angel. We never said that.
Right. So the prison alarm sounds. Sam is hiding and evading capture. Al finds him, and so does Thames. Somehow Ziggy knows who Zoe is. Like, how? Like, they don't know anything about this project. But Ziggy is like, oh, she's some woman named Zoe. How does Ziggy know that? She has no way, way of knowing that.
Ziggy tells them, because, so Sam and Al saw a woman.
Yes.
Obviously, they know it's a leaper.
Right.
And Ziggy's like, oh, that's Aaliyah's hologram Zoe.
Right.
Right.
Where's that information coming from? Okay, so he asks about her hologram, and Thames is like, oh, 2 points for the home team, as he's basically sitting there mocking Sam, because he can't see Al, of course. Al says they're working on that. I'm kind of curious as to how they're going to do that, but whatever. He goes back to Zoe, finds Aaliyah gone.
Okay,
I'm sorry. Thames goes back to Zoe.
Sam mentioned Aaliyah while he was talking to Al. And suddenly, Thames was like, Aaliyah?
Right.
Oh, she's here? And then goes to tell Zoe Aaliyah's here.
I don't think that's what happens. I think he went to go talk to Zoe to actually see Aaliyah, because he knows that.
But they still don't know who Aaliyah is.
Right, yeah.
Sam mentioned Aaliyah, and he was like, had new information, it felt like.
Right. Even
though he didn't Sam just mentioned her name.
Right.
Because they can't hear what Al's saying.
Right.
And then he goes to Zoe, and Zoe says, she's gone. What? What do you mean she's gone? Where do you think she went?
Right.
You don't even know who she is. What conclusions are you jumping to that you think she's gone? And then Thames is like, no, she's here. Isn't that why you're here? Because she's here?
Right. And Thames says there's a 95% chance that they're going to go over the wall. Zoe is delighted by this because now she has an excuse to kill them both.
Right.
But now they can't find Sam because Ziggy has jammed their frequency. How?
When did that become a thing?
How is... They don't know where this project is unless they have information that we don't. They didn't bother to share it with us. So there's no way they should be able to jam their frequencies without actually knowing where the project is in the first place.
Their search and lock feature. So
right.
basically their ability to get a
lock on Sam.
To get a lock to locate to them is gone.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't gone before, why weren't you able to do that before?
Right. So that doesn't make any sense. But all right, so
now they can't.
Right. Yeah. Because they're being blocked somehow.
Because Ziggy's doing something.
Right.
That we're later going to be told has something to do with the
power.
The power?
Right.
What?
Yeah. So Sam finds Vivian, who's mad. No kidding. She brings him to Aaliyah, and Sam tries to talk Vivian into helping them and tells her who he really is and who Zoe's is. And the alarm stops because basically in the previous scene, Zoe ordered it to be stopped. Vivian wants one reason to believe him, and he asks if Liz would lie to her. And
No, the power, that's not what happened with the power.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Not the power. The alarm.
The alarm.
The alarm went off because Zoe ordered it off, basically.
Okay.
Is that what I said?
That's what I heard. It might not be what you said.
Okay. All right. So Vivian wants...
There's a lot going on
right.
here.
And that's enough to sway her to help them out. Which
yeah,
is
so he's like, we're time travelers from... I'm a man.
Right.
Basically, this is what he says. He's like, I'm a man named Sam Beckett, and the warden, that's a woman named Zoe, and we're time travelers, and Zoe's gonna kill us.
Right.
And she's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, don't worry. I mean, I've already thrown my career away. I might as well risk prison time as well.
She did, like, not believe it for a second, and then
Right.
Sam was like, how long have you known Liz?
Right.
Would she make this up?
Right. Yep.
And that was enough for Vivian to be like, well, no, she wouldn't make this up.
Right.
But I don't know. I would think the prisoner made something up, even if you think you know them, is still a lot more plausible than they're time travelers, and the warden is an evil time traveler trying to kill them. But her whole Vivian's whole thing is, well, I've always wanted to do something good.
Yes.
Why does this look like you're doing something? Now, you are, from
Right.
our perspective.
Yes.
But from her perspective,
Right.
you haven't done anything good today. You've been helping prisoners escape all day.
Yeah. Basically. So Sophia assures Zoe that they can't get out of the complex. Zoe is not as convinced by that. Vivian ends up telling Sam, that at the end of the tunnel there's a lock and an electrified fence. She's going to cut the power, and she goes to do that. But
he's got 15 seconds until the generator comes on to open the gate. Now, let's remember that.
Yes.
We were told you only have 15 seconds, the power's going to be out.
Right.
The power stays out the rest of the episode.
Right.
That's a plot point that we're
Right.
being told is we lose the lock because there's no power.
Right.
But it was only supposed to be out for 15 seconds.
So she goes to do that, but Aaliyah asks, why is she helping them? Why do other people help other people? And this is Aaliyah speaking, obviously, because this is an
angel, right? This is Aaliyah leaking through, because Aaliyah has been brainwashed into thinking people are evil and be evil, and that's the only way.
So Vivian says if even 1/10 of what Sam says is true, just once she wants to be one of the good guys. Okay. So Thames tells Zoe that they are using the power as a cloaking device, basically the Project Quantum Leap.
And how do they know that?
Right. Neither one of these people know where the other project is. They have no information unless they're not sharing it with us and they figured out all this stuff, which, if that's the case, that sucks, because I would kind of like to know some of these details. Right. But, all right.
So the electric fence is what is causing the cloaking. So he's telling her if we shut the power down, we'll be able to get a lock.
Right. And just then the power goes out, thanks to Vivian. And then Zoe tells them to find them. And Thames tells them they're outside the perimeter. And she wants a vehicle. So Al tells them that there is no force field anymore. I didn't even realize that Al or Sam or any of these people knew anything about that.
Right, because they didn't mention it.
Right.
But it was happening, apparently.
Right.
That definitely feels like a cut line or something.
Yes.
That this should have been established that they're doing it.
Right. Sam says the code word Rumpelstiltskin. And basically she remembers everything. Thames appears.
Yeah, she recognizes Sam.
She can see Thames? How?
Because they're from the same project!
But no. Everything that we've been told is that the only way for you to see the hologram is if they're tuned into
your brainwaves. But she's tuned to Zoe, and he's tuned to Zoe, so it could follow that they're all on the same...
I mean, I guess.
They were all programmed together.
I guess.
Just like how Sam could see Gushy.
Yeah, but barely.
But barely, right. There should be some problems here.
Right, yes.
But yeah, this is where I really started thinking about, like, well, but what about Zoe and Aaliyah seeing each other?
Right.
they either still can't or they should have all along, and neither of those are true.
Right, because they didn't touch.
They didn't touch.
They don't touch for the rest of the episode.
Right, but they see each other.
In fact,
but they didn't at the beginning.
Right.
Because all three of the Leapers were in a room together at the beginning.
Right. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so...
Aaliyah's confused.
Yeah.
Me too.
Aaliyah asks where Zoe is, and Sam explains that she weeped. Sam forces Aaliyah to keep running. She wants to give up, but she keeps running with Sam. She ends up running into Zoe, who has a shotgun. Aaliyah pushes Sam out of the way. She ends up weeping as she gets shot.
Zoe shoots Aaliyah.
Right. She leaps.
She leaps in blue.
Yes.
She has a blue leap.
Which is interesting, but okay, my question is, where the hell did the bullet go?
Right. So Angel comes back.
Yes.
There is no bullet.
Yes.
Vivian is very confused, like, I saw you get shot. Where's your wound?
The only way that makes sense is if Aaliyah has the bullet. So that means that she leaped with a gunshot wound.
Possibly fatal gunshot wound.
But of course, that's not going to be brought up.
That's not going to be brought up. We're just told she's safe. It doesn't feel safe if she just leaped with a shot in her chest.
Because, yeah, if Angel doesn't have the bullet, then Aaliyah has to. Otherwise, where the heck did the bullet go? Did it go straight through?
Right. And, that's something that Chris brought up in his book.
Yeah.
That same scenario of the bullet and someone leaping.
Right. And what did he...
I think that's kind of where he landed.
Is it just went straight through?
It went with... Wait, did it... I forget now. In his book, did they find the bullet in the room?
Oh, okay. So it's possible.
Nobody got the bullet because the
So as he was leaping, she became kind of like translucent.
Right, and the bullet was just in the background somewhere.
I mean, I guess.
I guess that's a possibility.
Right, but it'd be nice if they...
told us.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that goes for a lot of things. All right. So, yeah, and I'm going to point out, there are other guards here. Sophia's here.
And state troopers are here. Everybody's here. The dogs are here.
They're looking for an escaped prisoner, so they should all have weapons. And basically Thane says that she can't find Zoe. And yeah, so I already went into the whole bullet thing. But Zoe prepares to shoot Sam, but Sam pulls a shotgun from where exactly?
Exactly! And I'm guessing it was Vivian's.
I mean, I guess, but why
when did he pick it up?
Right. So, he shoots Zoe. Sam at this point should have 15 bullets in him. He just shot the warden. All these people around him have guns.
Exactly.
He should be dead.
Yeah, right. He shot the warden.
Yes. All right. And at this point, Vivian barely reacts to Sam pulling out a shotgun and shooting the warden. At this point, she should be realizing, okay,
maybe I'm on the wrong side of it.
Not only did I probably lose my job, but I'm going to be going to prison for a very, very long time.
Okay, so Thames tells Lothos to pull Zoe out.
Right. And
Zoe was shot.
Yes. She's laying on the ground. She's looking very dead.
Is she, we don't know for sure. Is she dead or is she just really wounded?
So, Thames fades out.
Yeah, he disappears.
Zoe leaps.
Zoe leaps in red.
Myers returns.
Unharmed.
He's still alive.
He's unharmed.
What? So you're telling me that if you're you're leaping around in time, you get shot and killed, and somebody witnesses this happening, the host is going to come back and be perfectly fine?
Right.
That's not like a huge problem. Like everybody witnessed.
It does kind of make sense if.
Does it though?
If it's the Leaper's body there, they're not there.
Yes.
If they leave and the other one comes back.
But
we were always told if the if they die, you die.
Right. For instance, if Sam dies, they're stuck in the future.
Right.
That's how it should work.
Right.
You don't want the original host coming back and being alive.
But they should... It makes sense they'd be alive. But the leap itself is a little ambiguous.
Right. You don't want him to come back, though, and, suddenly have a resurrection. Everybody witnessed Myers on the ground dead after being shot.
Right.
That's not how you want that to work, is it? So anyway, that doesn't make any sense.
It's doesn't quite fit anything we know.
No, yeah.
Not that we know much, because everything we've ever been told is speculation, and is inconsistent anyways with how any of that stuff should work.
Right. But there's so many questions brought up in this last 5 minutes alone about how leaping works.
Absolutely.
Yes. It's insane. Okay, so Sam begs her for help.
Okay, this is another part.
Right.
Sam's begging Vivian for help and says, you need to tell them to turn me over to the state troopers and not Myers because she'll kill me.
Right. Sam...
As in Zoe? Zoe's gone!
And Sam should see that.
Did you not just see that Zoe left and the actual warden is back? So why is she going to kill you? What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Sam is just panicking at this point, but it doesn't make any sense. So Vivian yells at him to put the gun down, which he should not still have. But Vivian tells, in fact, he should be dead at this point, but that's besides the point. Vivian tells the other officers that arrived that she wants...
The state troopers.
Yeah, that she wants Liz in state custody. Al suddenly comes up with a flurry of information.
Because suddenly, the real Liz remembered everything and gave them everything they need to know. That Ziggy couldn't find any of this information, but Liz remembered it all.
My question is, if Liz knew all this information, why didn't she tell somebody in the original history? Why did she hang for these crimes?
Right.
If she had all this information.
Right. It literally got to the point that she was convicted and executed for killing Carol Benning.
Right.
I mean, I guess maybe we can say she did and nobody listened.
Right. Maybe they just covered it up.
Like nobody cared. Like she didn't even have a public defender that would listen.
Right. So she says that Myers was responsible for Carol's death. He got her pregnant, etc., etc. He had
forced an abortion. She was hemorrhaging from that, from an illegal abortion, and
exactly
led to death.
How was this abortion performed?
Well, we know there was a doctor involved. We hear the name Dr. Paula Garci has all the facts. So I'm assuming that's the person that did it.
But I guess.
But are they going to actually implement themselves by giving this information?
Implicate themselves? Yeah, I don't see it. But yeah, so he forced her to have an abortion, and then she bled to death.
In the bathroom, and that's what Angel and Liz were trying to help her when she was bleeding to death.
So the Stadies take him into custody, Sam. And Al says that Myers goes down, and so does Soapy. Okay, I realize that Soapy is an asshole, but what exactly does she go down for?
Well, we know that she was an accomplice in bringing women to Myers to be assaulted.
Okay, all right.
Like, she's helping cover all of this up.
Gotcha.
But in that regard, every guard seemed to know about it, including Vivian, because Vivian's like, everybody knows what going under means.
Right, and Vivian runs the prison, according to Al.
Right, so Vivian's the hero, but why?
I mean, if you look at the events from an objective perspective, that is not from the Leap's perspective.
Right.
She's done some pretty criminal actions here, including aiding and abetting the escape of prisoners.
Right.
So she should not be running the prison. She should be in the prison.
Right. And Liz and Angel got parole. But why? Wasn't Liz convicted of murder?
Right. It had nothing to do with Carol Benning.
Nothing to do with Carol Benning.
Right.
And I get that, like, she shouldn't have been because it was self-defense or whatever. But we're in the framework of she's already spent 3 years here for murder.
Right.
So why is she going on parole all of a sudden?
I mean, if we explain that she went to the parole board, like when she was up for parole.
Right, that this is about her husband.
That would make sense.
They're not framing it that way. They're just they get out now because they didn't kill Carol.
Right, which had nothing to do with why they were there in the first place.
Or because they, caught the Myers.
Right.
Or...
So Vivian basically asks Sam how things worked out. Sam tells her that everything works out. She asks about his friend. Al says he doesn't know, but wherever she is, she's free. Your basis for that conclusion?
Yeah, how do we know that?
If you don't know where she is, how do you know?
We don't even know that she didn't get shot.
Right. She for all we know, she's dead somewhere.
But all we know is she leapt in blue. So she's a good leaper now?
I guess.
But why does that mean she's safe? Because honestly, I don't feel like if she's out there leaping by herself, I don't feel like she's equipped to handle that.
No.
Because Aaliyah is not with it.
No.
When it comes to leaping abilities.
Right.
So if she is out there leaping, she's doing what Sam possibly did for 30 years. She doesn't have a hologram.
Right.
She's going to fail at every single mission.
Yes.
And maybe that means she still gets to leap because success doesn't matter.
Right.
But she's just lost in time by herself.
Right.
I wouldn't call that okay.
No. So, basically Al has no basis for anything he just says here. But Sam tells Vivian that she got to be one of the good guys, and he weakly says, thanks, and then leaves. So that's the end of the episode. Yeah, this episode is a total mess. When you actually look at it, it's a mess. I mean, there is some cool stuff here, but a lot of this just doesn't work.
It doesn't all formulate.
Right.
And it doesn't fit into the things we already know. And it doesn't explain any of the things that it proposes.
There's a whole bunch of things that happen, and it contradicts a lot of what we've been told, and it raises a lot of questions that, of course, are never going to be answered because, that's a wrap.
Right. We don't know. Where did Aaliyah go?
Right.
Is Zoe dead, or did they bring her somewhere and save her life?
Right.
The whole, who could see who when thing?
Yes.
I can't follow it.
Right.
You feel like you do follow it.
Yes.
But then you think about it too hard, and...
That's the other thing is, Thames should not be able to see Aaliyah at all.
Because he couldn't earlier.
Right. So, Zoe and Aaliyah never touch.
Right.
So, Thames should still be seeing Angel.
Unless they're saying that when Sam and Zoe touched, it removed everybody's cloaks. But why? Why would it do that?
I guess. That does not make sense to me.
Because when Sam and Aaliyah touched,
right,
it didn't do that.
Yes.
Right? Because they've touched throughout the whole episode.
Right.
So that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Those two touched. If Sam and Zoe touching would have removed all the cloaks, then Sam and Aaliyah touching should have removed all the cloaks.
Right.
So I'm going to say it didn't.
Right.
Which means nobody should have ever seen Aaliyah because neither Zoe or anybody else touched her.
Right.
And if Thames can just see her because he can see her, then he should have been able to see her earlier.
Right. Yeah, she didn't go through the whole morphing thing.
Unless we're saying the only reason he can't see her is because she's hypnotized, which makes zero sense.
That only makes sense for not being able to locate Aaliyah. It does
Maybe.
It doesn't otherwise make any other sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense why he wouldn't be able to see her.
Yeah.
If he can now see her.
Right. Yeah. Like I said.
So I feel like we skipped a step where Zoe needed to touch Angel.
Right. I feel like if we had another episode, we could have explained some of these things a little bit better.
It wouldn't have fixed these dynamics though.
No.
Within the we needed more details. I mean, if this is the story we're going with, cool. But we needed more hey, yeah, Ziggy said they're doing something with the electricity and we're blocking them.
Right.
Tell us you're doing that.
Right.
Not just tell us you're not doing it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
We needed Zoe and Aaliyah touching. Yes. Or at very least telling us that you figured out who the frick Aaliyah is. Because they never did that the entire episode.
Right.
We needed more explanation on what's going on with these characters in the leap, because it kind of feels cartoony, because obviously that's not our focus, but they breadcrumb this whole story going on but never fill it in.
Right.
Like, what happened to Fiddler in the original history? Did they kill her? Did they save her? Were they actually insinuating that Masterson was just assaulting all the women in this prison and the guards were all helping?
You mean Myers?
Yeah.
I don't think Masterson had anything to do with that. I mean,
well,
maybe
she was compliant.
Maybe she did. But yeah, there's a lot of missing pieces here. There's a lot of little dangling threads that don't really cohere into anything coherent.
Exactly.
It's just basically a mess of an episode with a bunch of random stuff in it. And some of it is cool stuff, but it still doesn't add up to anything.
Exactly.
And we have 3 episodes that don't really add up to anything.
Right.
And by the way, that was another comment that Mimi made. We were questioning how far from the original Leap the Jimmy episode took place, and she says it was about 2 years. So,
I mean, I know we talked about all that when we actually
did.
had the episode in front of us.
Right. Yeah. Anything else to say before concluding?
It makes me sad.
Yeah.
That they didn't put a pretty bow on it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna give us this kind of universe changing story.
Yeah.
You need to make it make sense, and you need to actually tell the frickin' story.
Right. Yeah. They basically just did this to appease NBC, and they got canceled anyway.
Right.
Right.
And I feel like I said, they would have had to have gone back to it because they had to realize how this isn't a complete story.
Yeah.
And if they had a season 6, season 7, they would have had to have at least addressed it somewhere. Like, run into Aaliyah. How's she doing? Is she cool? Great.
I don't know, because everything that these episodes suggest is that there's a complete disdain for the entire venture in the first place.
Right,
so
but once you did it, like, you're committed, right? Like, you have to follow through in some fashion.
Yeah, maybe.
Or, like, I don't know, maybe he should have saw Aaliyah in Al's place.
Right. Yeah.
Like, we've got, what's his name?
Strappa?
Strappa.
Yeah.
Like, we never explain what the heck that is, but is that what Aaliyah is now?
Right.
Like, she's just kind of left dangling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we go as far as we're going to mention them in the revival.
Yes.
By name. Zoe and Aaliyah's names are on the screen while we're talking about the Evil Leaper Project. It's said in canon of the episode.
Yeah.
But the only thing they do is be like, but that's not this.
Right.
Okay, but what is that?
Right.
Do something with it. Give us an ending. All we needed was a couple lines of dialogue. And they didn't do that either.
Nope.
In that conversation, like, that's not this. We could have got some resolution. You could have just said, like, what happened to Aaliyah? Give us something.
I'm actually kind of curious if the revival series actually wanted to touch on it eventually.
I don't know.
I mean, with Deborah Pratt's involvement, I don't think she wanted to do that. But
I mean, wanted to as far as, like, want to? No. But wanted to clean it up? I can see that being a want.
Yes.
Clean up the plot holes.
Yes.
And it you didn't need a whole storyline to do it. Just sprinkle it in somewhere. Have somebody tell us something concrete somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they went as far as acknowledging they exist.
Yes. But never actually doing anything.
Right.
With it. Yeah. And yeah, it's kind of frustrating. I'm curious. I think I might try to. Well, I mean, I can find the book. It's on AlicePlace.com. Alice Place, Quantum Leap, AlicePlace.com. I can find the book there. You can download it.
Yeah, all of the books are available for digital viewing. In
fact, I even think you have that book.
I might. My Quantum Leap books are all on the stairs upstairs if you want to look at them.
So, yeah, I'm kind of curious what it says about the Evil Leaper Project.
I don't remember. I know I read it, but that was a million years ago.
If it expands on it at all, or,
But it's not canon. It's not the same.
It's not, but it'd be interesting to see if somebody had a take on that. That was in a book or a comic book of any kind. That might make sense. So all in all, a total mess of an episode.
And that's a wrap on the Evil Leapers.
Right, and we only got 5 more episodes. I'm thinking we're probably going to take at least a week or 2 break before getting into those episodes.
Yeah, we've got a lot going on around here.
Right, yeah.
Next episode is the Marilyn Monroe one.
Yes.
I'm kind of excited to revisit that. I haven't seen that one in a while. I don't know how I feel about it.
Right, and you did ask me a question when we started season 5, why I might feel differently about the Marilyn Monroe ending versus the Lee Harvey Oswald ending. We talked about that in the podcast on Lee Harvey Oswald, and I'm interested to see if I actually do think it's better upon rewatching it or not. So yeah, that's an interesting thing that we have coming up.
So that will be our next Quantum Leap discussion, which will be here sometime soon.
Yeah, a couple weeks, I think. And I think when we get back to doing the final 5 episodes, we should just burn them off and.
Well, we got to see what our schedule looks like because we've got things we got to fit in places and
So we'll see.
It's coming. It'll be here. We're not gonna forget about it.
Nope. All right.
So this week, let's tell them what we have coming up this week.
Yes. This week we have. What do we have going on this week?
Well, tomorrow is going to be our next Under the Dome, but Wednesday.
Yes, Wednesday we have an interview with John Irons and Jared Stern.
Yeah.
John Irons should be familiar to the people of this channel because he has appeared on our channel for one. He was in the the trivia thing that we did. He's the one that didn't do so well.
John Irons is host
Quantum Leap podcast.
He's host of the Captain Game Show podcast, and appeared on the Quantum Leap podcast after show for the Revival series. And he is a self-proclaimed not a Quantum Leap expert,
right?
But exists within our Quantum Leap community.
Yeah, he's contributed. He's contributed some stuff to us, mostly under duress and gunpoint. But
exactly,
he's still done it. He's still done it. And of course, Jared Stearns. He's a Stern. No S. I didn't do it the first time. I did it the second time. But yeah, he's a well-known comedian. He was voted the best comedian of DC 2 years running. He doesn't want any pressure for that, but yeah, so he's going to be on our channel.
So they wrote a book. That's the point. Is they wrote a book, and you can hear all about it with our interview with them that's going to be dropping on Wednesday.
Yes.
So keep your eyes out for that, and please give it all of your attention, and help spread the word about their book. All right. We'd like to hear from you. What'd you think of this podcast? What'd you think of this episode? Stacie reached at. I can be reached on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at TVN Coupon Talk. If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join me on Blue Sky. You can join the Corn Productions Facebook page. You can buy something from the Corn Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a coffee. You can join the Corn Productions membership for 99 cents a month, starting at. She mentioned that the fact that you can, there's a tier where you can become a producer on this podcast. Yeah, as well as a few tiers in between those. Yes, of course. And, of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribe to the channel. This is Dave and Stacie from Corn Productions, signing off.